Hi everybody, a couple weeks ago I posted some videos with the Party Time card kits and some extra bonus cards I made using those. And I got a lot of good feedback about that. Some people requested similar videos with other card kits. So I pulled out my Tropic Time card kit and I'm gonna work on that today. I'm gonna show you a couple different ways to get some additional pieces you can use for bonus cards. And we will make some bonus cards in another video. But today I'm going to just work with the regular cards in the kit. And if you need the supplies for those, you can order from my website or you can contact me directly. And if you are here in Utah, in the Kaysville area, I would love to have you join us in person sometime for a crop or to do some shopping face to face. So let's get going on cards. Tropic Time is a collection right now with Creative Memories that includes all the scrapbooking things, paper, stickers, and all of that good stuff. But there's also a card kit, so it matches with all of those. I've already opened this card kit and organized all the pieces. Other than that, we're going to save the bonus pieces for something else another time. So each card kit comes with a set of printed instructions, and this one shows one card on each side of one of the small sheets and tells you which pieces are in there. Each piece is labeled on the back so you can easily figure out which pieces go with which cards and then reference the instructions to know which piece is specifically the ABC pieces that they're talking about for each card. I have already organized all these, so I've got my 12 cards and the envelopes on the bottom. And each card here has a set of pieces just for one specific card. But I'm going to show you a couple little tricks I do with some of my card kits to help me extend that card kit into more cards than just the 12 in the pack. I'm just going to start going through, and then as we get to those cards and pieces that we'll do some of those special things with, I'll stop and show you that there. Card number 1 is this cute one that says, "Wishing you the best day ever." Here are all the pieces for that one. I'm not going to use any special tools for this card. It's all just going to get taped together. I'm going to do a little bit of foam tape and also repositionable tape runner. The pieces usually go down in order, like A, B, C. So we're just going to start with card 1, piece 1A, which is this large background piece, and just put it on right like the instructions show, with the gradient going with the lighter at the top and the darker at the bottom. And on top of this piece, I've got this little kind of cutout that is piece 1B. And that's going to go right over that. And I'm not going to be real careful about where I do and don't get my adhesive, because with the repositionable, any extra can just rub off. But I want to get it pretty well covered because I don't want this card to be coming apart when somebody gets it. I'm just going to center that straight down onto my card. If you wanted to, you could definitely use some small foam squares or cut some small pieces from your foam tape and stand this kind of lattice up away from the background if you wanted to. I decided just to attach it directly to the card, straight down with the tape runner. And here I am just removing some of those extra little dots from the repositionable tape, hanging over some spots where we don't need it. Okay, so that's my background, and then these pieces are going to go on top. And I am going to put some of these up on foam. I think I'll put the flower on foam and the words. But just because this one has so many little pieces, I don't want to have to cut a ton of tiny little foam sections to keep that one up and stable and have it not get bent. So instead, I'm just going to attach this one straight to the card as well. kind of the same way I did that last white lattice piece. Not being real precise about where it gets, but wanting to get tape on most of the edges so I can get that down here and not have it pop up too much. And I'm trying to get it kind of in the same spot where the example shows. I will probably come back to this card and a little more carefully rub off some of the extra tape that is showing through here, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on video doing that right now. So we'll just do a little bit of that and then get some foam. If you're using foam squares instead of foam tape, you wouldn't need to use your scissors for this. Oh, and I cut this piece a little too large. Let's use it on one of these word strips instead. With the foam tape, you can cut your piece as large or as small as you'd like, whatever size you need. And with the foam squares, there are a variety of sizes, so you can just pick the correct size for what you're making. Sometimes you have to cut your foam squares a little bit smaller, especially if you're doing something that's really thin or has some intricate designs. If you were going to do something like this leaf, you would probably need to cut some small foam square pieces. Oh, and I could have showed you, I didn't, but the backs of each of these, if you notice that, have a letter on each piece as well. So they show you like the ABC order of which pieces go on. Once you get to this point, it probably doesn't matter so much that you do them in order, because maybe you'll want to put your "the best" sticker on before "wishing you." As long as you're getting your words in an order that is logical and makes sense, it probably doesn't matter which one you actually put on first. I think I'm just going to center that, which is not quite what the example shows, but I think I like that a little bit better. So I'll come back to this and get a little more fussy, removing the extra tape runner that is on this leaf piece. But that was a pretty quick and easy card. It's all done and ready to go. I'll stick it in an envelope, and then we'll move on to card number 2. One of the things I really like about Creative Memories card kits is that they're cute, obviously, but they go together so quickly. And once you kind of know how the pieces work and how to organize your card kits, you can do them really fast. All right, with card number 2, we are going to do a little bit of cutting. So this one says thank you. It has a couple layers. If you didn't want a thank you card for this, there are some alternate pieces you could swap out for in the card kit, in the bonus pieces. And this has a little thin strip that weaves through the thank you words. We are going to put some gems on the sides of this after we get it done on our card. But where I was talking about we're going to do some cutting is actually with these layers here. So this is going to go straight on the card. This is going to get layered on top of it, and then we're going to put thank you over that, which means there's actually a fair amount of this darker green from the bottom layer that we don't even need. And so I'm going to actually cut that part and just save it for something else. I'm going to throw this in with my bonus pieces and use it for another card another time. So to decide how much I actually need, I'm just going to measure this area where it's open, where we're going to see the dark green underneath this lighter green leaf cutout. It looks like 2 3/4 inches. So we need to keep 2 3/4 inches. You might want to keep a little more just so you're not cutting it too close. And I'm gonna keep 3 inches. I'm gonna cut that. And now this little strip is just an extra piece, and I'm going to set it aside with my bonus pieces. We could do the same thing in the other direction, because you can see here's a little bit of a border on both sides here. I'm not going to in this case because I don't think I'm going to use that little bitty strip for something else, but this is still plenty of green background to work with this cutout piece above it. As we go through some of the other cards, I have already done those kinds of cuts, and I'll mention to you when we get to those cards, which pieces I've kind of modified in that way. Another thing, if you don't want to use the repositionable adhesive, with some of these pieces that have the delicate cutouts, another really good option is your Precision Point Adhesive. You have to be a little careful with that because it can easily kind of seep out and show through your pieces where you don't want to if you're using too much of it. And that one does not just rub off. If you get too much on there, it's just going to be visible. You could try to cover it up, but you're not going to be able to just wipe it away. Another thing about the Precision Point Adhesive, it's small, of course, which is the kind of the point. So you can get into all those nooks and crannies. But it is also a wet adhesive. So if you're putting a lot of it on a thin paper, you can make your paper all wiggly and warped. So that's kind of the drawbacks of the Precision Point Adhesive. And because it is quite small, you're not going to want to use that for adhering big pieces together. It's really just for little precision adhering. Okay, and I'm using the repositionable tape on this whole strip with the thank you word, and attaching that straight down. You could do this with foam squares. I decided not to do foam squares on this because I'm going to do the gems on the sides. And I've talked about this in my other videos where we make cards. But sometimes you have to make the decision with your cards how much extra dimension you want to add, because it can increase the cost of postage. If you're going to send your cards in the mail, you might want to think about keeping them flat or pretty flat, or at most using just some foam, because usually the foam is okay in the mail, but often something like these little gems will make it so you have to pay more to stick a card like this in the mail. When it has something that's raised and it's not really a flat card, it can't go through their machines. So the post office has to process cards by hand. And when they do that, they have to charge more for postage. And I'm just kind of lining these up, trying to keep them pretty even with each other. Okay, so there's our thank you card. If you didn't like the word thank you, there is a bonus piece you can swap out for something else. That's card number 2. Card number 3 is this cute hello card, and it has a bunch of layers. And when I say a bunch, I mean like 4. And so I'm going to show you what I did on one piece, and then I'm going to actually do it on the other piece so you can see it in action. But a lot of these times we have multiple layers on a card or in a scrapbooking layout. The paper underneath is just not really even ever visible once you finish the card or the layout. And so if you would like to, you can gut that paper that's underneath, which is what I've done here. Gutting is when you cut out the inside and leave the outside that's going to be visible from the next layer. And in this case, we actually have 2 layers where I'm going to do that. So I've done that already on this first piece, And I'm gonna do that on this second piece. And again, to decide how much gutting, how wide of a border I need to leave, I'm just gonna measure what is the difference in size between the two pieces. So it looks like a 1/2 inch difference. And so for me, when I decide how to gut, I look at what the total difference is, about a 1/2 inch in each direction. And then I use that length as my guide and cut that on each side. So I've actually got a border that's double what I need. So I have a little bit of wiggle room. And my gutted inside shouldn't show. So on this trimmer, the 1/2 inch mark is just this first black line on either side of the cutting area. And I try not to overshoot it on the gutting at first, because I feel like where we've got this little white line, that's where kind of the center of the blade is. And mine tends to cut a little bit farther out than the center of the blade. So I try to make that like show me how far to cut. And then I just use my scissors to trim a little bit extra. You can also put it back in your trimmer. If you want to have the trimmer just do that little bit of extra distance if you didn't do enough to begin with. But I don't love it when I cut too far. And then you can see the cut marks way off to the side, which might be far enough to be visible underneath the next layer. So now I have the inside of that I can use as a background for something else, probably another card with the bonus pieces. And I can start layering these up. And this is a card where you could do 1 or 2 layers of foam. Kind of just depends on what you want, how much dimension you want to give it. And the card instructions don't show all of the gems used. We're going to use a little less than half of the gems as we go through these cards. So if you wanted to add gems to any of these as well, you can see where you like which colors and use them on your cards however you like. So I'm going to attach my first layer with tape runner. And for these pieces that don't have the delicate cutouts, regular tape runner would be just fine. There is also a mini tape runner that's the same kind of tape as the regular tape runner, just in smaller pieces. So some people really like that one. For me, it's not my favorite. I feel like between the repositionable adhesive and the Precision Point Adhesive, those things do all I would want. And I don't use the mini tape runner myself, but I do have some scrapbooking friends who like that and do use it. Okay, so I'm gonna attach this kind of teal colored blue piece with foam and raise that up from the card base. But before I do that, I want to attach this top layer background, if that makes sense to say, with some tape runner just to kind of hold it in place while I'm putting some foam tape down on these pieces that are now together. And this is a place where if you wanted to, you could do some pretty big strips of foam tape. And that's kind of the beauty of the foam tape. You can make your pieces as large as you'd like. It's great for like if you have a border and you want the whole section of the border to be raised up. This is more efficient than foam squares and like peeling off a bunch of the foam square pieces. We just cut 4 big pieces of foam tape to attach this one to the dark background. I want to make sure I put it on the right way so it's not upside down. This one does have some direction to it. The other pieces didn't really. Just get that centered and on there. And then I think I'll also put my hello word up on foam. So for this one, I'll need some smaller foam pieces. They don't need to be real small, but oftentimes when you are raising a word up on foam, it'll be so delicate and the letters so thin that even the smallest foam squares are a little bit too big for it, for those letters. So you might have to trim those down a bit. Just trying to position that so it's not going to show through from the front. There's also a word alternative for this card. If you don't want it to say hello, I think there's one that says love instead, which would be cute on this. This kit has some birthday cards, has some kind of just all-purpose, a few birthday, but also a little bit of everything else that we commonly send cards for. So there's my cute hello card with the multiple layers of foam. And even though I raised this up on foam, you can't see that the layer beneath has been gutted. So that one is just fine. Okay, card number 4. So this is the reason I have my custom cutting system out. There are quite a few circles in this kit. And it's a very cute set, but where did I put my other circles? When I was cutting some of the other pieces earlier, as I was preparing to do this video, I just threw these in with my bonus pieces, but they're actually the regular pieces for this card. So this card has the Have a Sunny Day words. And again, there's an alternate piece that's the same shape if you wanted it to say something else. It has a kind of irregular circle that goes beneath it, kind of a sun, which I have gutted with a little tiny circle cut out of it, and I'll use that little circle for something else another time. I'm going to do the same thing on this white piece. So this white one is piece 4C. It's going to be layered with all of these ones. And I'm just going to center. Oh, maybe I won't, because this piece is actually too small to use with this cutting pattern. This happens occasionally, and maybe it's a good thing I saw it here, but you can try to cut this. It's not going to work because your paper has to be able to be the size that's going to be gripped by these little feet on the bottom of your custom cutting system patterns. Otherwise, it won't hold still for you to cut your shape. So skip that, and I will just mention that there are some other places I'm going to show you where I've cut out some circles of different sizes in places that are going to get covered up with different layers. And I've set aside all those circles to use on some cards with the bonus pieces instead. So I actually won't be using the custom cutting system. I've already cut the pieces, and you'll see those as we go through. But here is another place where I did a little bit of cutting. So this card has piece 4A that goes to the bottom of the card, and originally it was the full size background, but since this piece 4B is going to cover up about half, I just measured and cut what was going to be covered, and I'll have a little piece that looks like this set aside for something else in the future. So first thing is to adhere down these two background pieces, and then I'll put together my Have a Sunny Day words. You know, I just realized I could still gut that white piece, and maybe I will, just so you can see how that happens. I just need to use a smaller custom cutting circle pattern which I do have because I used it for some others. So this is the size I used to cut out the center of this green one. The blue circle, or the blue blade, is the one that cuts the farthest away from the pattern, which means on the outside track, it's gonna be the largest. And on the inside track, it's gonna be the smallest. And if you're not sure which color blade and which size pattern you wanna use, each set comes with a guide so you can kind of estimate which is the right one for your project. So now this pattern is small enough to hold this, or is the right size for this small piece. And I can, the white is being gripped by the little feet underneath. My blade went in just fine, went all the way around. It leaves a little kind of donut ring and gives me a little white circle, which I may or may not use with one of my bonus cards later. And these are all gonna layer up now. And I think I'm gonna stick these all together flat and then put the whole little cluster together with some foam onto the card. I think this would be a cute card to put some of the orange blingy gems on, but you can do those however you like. I'm just kind of doing what is shown in the instructions. But even if you don't like some of the pieces together on certain cards, maybe you want a different combination of things, or a little more or a little less on any card, you can definitely do that. The pieces are, in this kit, are mostly pretty flexible, so you could make some different combinations and be a little more creative versus just following the instructions. Just up to you what you want to do. When you're following the instructions and just using the pieces as the instructions say, the cards go together really quickly. For most card kits, I would say 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Kind of depends on how fast you are and what else you're doing. If you're doing a girls' night and there's a lot of chatting, you might be spending more time, which is just part of the fun. So this is another piece where I have cut a little bit of the background in both directions. So now it's basically just the size of the inside of this leaf cutout, and I just saved some little strips of the light green to use for something else. Originally, this piece was the size of the whole card base. I'm going to just center this. I don't think we're gonna miss those little strips I cut off. They shouldn't be a problem. Just trying to get it really good and centered on this card. So when I put the next layer on, all we see through is the light green. Great. Oh, another trick I was going to mention. So one way to avoid having a lot of extra repositionable tape to rub off after you're done, you can use your scissors for this. I'm going to show you using the scissors just because I have it, but more often I would use my multi-purpose tool. It has a couple different sizes. It has a section that's very thin, so you can get into some of these nooks and crannies and just kind of like knock off the little extra tape pieces before you even put it down onto your project. You can do it a little bit with your fingers, but in some of these more like the tiny cutouts, you would need something smaller, a little tool for that. Just rubbing off a little bit of that tape. And this one is a happy birthday card. So it gets a little banner, happy birthday, and then it's gonna get some blue gems right here. So I'm gonna put everything straight down and then do my gems on top of that. And you can still do foam even with gems. I just tend not to very often. That's just my preference. But if you're going to save cards to hand to people in person or stick into a gift, then you don't need to worry about whether the extra dimension is gonna add postage, because that won't be an issue. Trying to make sure that's pretty straight. And then we'll stick some gems on here. I'll probably move that middle one a little bit because that looks like I put it over really far. Okay, there's my happy birthday card with some little shiny blue gems. Card number 5. When I do these cards and things on video, I always feel like it takes way longer than normal because I'm talking so much. But really, if I were just to sit down and do these cards, they would go really fast. Especially if I'm not doing any of this extra cutting and gutting. Here's another piece where I cut some. So originally, this piece was as tall as it would go to the top of the card, but a big portion of it gets covered up. So it's like 2 layers of sea water foam. It's kind of the idea, the waves coming in. And then we've got this rest and relax word and the cute little starfish. And there are some extra starfish in your bonus pieces. So if you wanted this one to have lots more starfish, you could. So instead of this going all the way to the top, now I have a strip of that color reserved for something else. And I'll just adjust the placement of that piece to work with the other pieces. I'm gonna actually attach this one first. It's piece C. This one that doesn't have the letter on it anymore was piece A, but the part I cut off to save had that letter on it. I think this one is probably maybe my favorite card in this set. I just think this one's adorable. We just have a little bit of space between these two. And then I'm going to double check that that's going to work with this one, that I don't have any weird white gaps. Oh, and I kind of do. So I don't know if you can see that on the video, but it's a tiny bit too low, just with how I've cut this light blue piece. Screw that up just a little bit. And then make sure. Yep. Okay, so I don't have any weird white exposed between those two pieces. If it happened, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Most people probably wouldn't even notice. But I might notice, since I know that that's how I put the card together. So I would like it to not have that little gap. And with the repositionable tape, it's easy enough to pick up your piece and adjust it to shift a little bit higher. Yeah, I think this is my favorite card in this set. Just really cute. I would love to have a whole set of cards that's just this, or maybe not rest and relax, but this kind of design. And I'm not gonna do the starfish on foam. I feel like starfish lay down flat, pretty much. You could put some foam on yours, but I'm not going to on mine. Rub off a little bit of that extra adhesive. So we've got a cute rest and relax, you deserve it card. I think lots of people probably deserve a good rest and relaxation day. Here's another card where I did some gutting on the pieces. and I'll show you that. So this is piece 7A, the background piece. It doesn't really have a direction. The leaves kind of go all directions. So I cut out the center of this because this next layer is going to cover that whole thing up. And then I also cut a little circle out of this. I could have cut a much larger circle because the piece covering it is going to be big, but I just was cutting in some sizes I had out. So that's going to cover that, and then we've got our little thinking of you word that's going to go to the bottom. I'm going to attach these background pieces straight down, and then I'll put some foam on the two different word pieces. Okay, let's do some foam on this circle. It's going to need more than one piece because it's kind of large. And this piece is actually, it's almost exactly the width of the foam tape. And instead of risking it showing through a lot, I'm just gonna cut a few skinnier pieces. Because I feel like I probably won't get it exactly centered, so I'll end up with that showing through on both the sides. I think there is a different little red piece right that would go right here if you wanted to trade this out for a different word in the bonus pieces. Sunshine to brighten your day. And now we're on to card number 8. And with this card, I did the same kind of thing with this first background piece. I just trimmed a little bit off two sides so that this is going to be basically just the size of the leaf cut out. And when we center it on the card, no one will ever miss that little extra. This card is a birthday card, but there are some alternate pieces for this one as well. If you wanted it to say, I think it's something like, I'm wild about you, instead of have a wild birthday. So the word wild, that piece is the same in the bonus set. But the rest of the pieces, the words on the other pieces are a little bit different. Just up to you if you want to make it a birthday card or use it for something else. And not that this matters because this doesn't really have a direction, but I just realized I attached this upside down, as in the opposite orientation from what they have in the instructions. And it really doesn't matter. But there are a few places where I maybe would have liked to use my precision point on this piece instead, because I'm having to go back and add a little bit more tape to hold some spots down that I wasn't very good about taping initially. And then I'm going to still have to come back and rub off the extra tape pieces, since I wasn't real careful with that. But that's how repositionable tape works. So there's good and bad things about it. Okay, it opens this direction. So we're gonna put our words on, our little wild banner. This one weaves through again, like that other card we had made. Card number 2 or 3, I can't remember exactly. I'm just gonna take this all straight down, but I wanna make sure that's pretty good and centered before I do that. Get that one kind of right in the middle. And I'll put these other pieces up on foam that say have a wild and then birthday. So the have a birthday pieces. One of the nice things about this set, besides it just generally being very cute, is that the cards are not all super girly or super feminine looking. Some of the card kits have a lot of more feminine cards. And I think for most people, I mean, if you're sending a card, I mean, this is me personally, I feel like I send more cards to women where I'm making the cards and sending them to my sisters-in-law or nieces, or to my scrapbooking friends and team and other friends. But this set has a lot that could be for a boy. So this would be a really cute card to give to a boy or a man for his birthday. It's not something that's very girly. So that's nice to have some more masculine or neutral options. This card number 9 is a cute little scene with the palm trees. And you can see on this, I've cut out a bunch of circles behind where this sun piece is gonna sit. I also trimmed this piece, which is, I think, C. Or maybe D. Anyway, it was a piece that was gonna sit right here. So it's like kind of layers of sand at the bottom. And originally this was as tall from the bottom of the card up to where the top of it was gonna be. And I decided we didn't need some of that because this piece covers up quite a bit. So I just trimmed the amount off that would make it still work with these other pieces. I did the same with this piece where I trimmed off a little section just straight across that wasn't gonna be used or wasn't gonna be visible. And most of the time when I teach card classes, I don't have people do all that gutting and cutting and stuff. That can make your card making take a lot longer. And most people just don't care so much to do that extra work. So they can have a few strips of paper that match the bonus pieces, right? So very few people really, really want to do that extra. Sometimes people do. And I'm happy to show my tricks. But if I'm just making the cards on my own, I do often gut and save little bits so I can use more for the bonus pieces. Or have some more matching stuff to go with my bonus pieces, I should say. Yeah, just making sure that all lines up. Looks like it does. There's no weird gaps. Now my sun is gonna go on next. Actually, probably should have put the sun on before that brown sand piece. But it's fine, I can just tuck it in there. You can decide how high or low you want this little sunset to be. And your palm trees go on next. And if you wanted, you could put these up on foam. This is another one with some pretty skinny sections where I feel like it would be difficult to get small enough foam that it's not going to show through, and it's going to really support your piece in a way that won't let it bend too much. But it's totally up to you, your preference of how you want to do that. And like how far over or up and down you want your trees. A little off to the side. The bottom of this will actually get covered up by the words. And maybe I'll just do warmest wishes on foam here at the bottom. I'm sure there was a bonus piece of this size as well. I just don't remember what it said. So you could have, instead of warmest wishes, you could have this card say something else, or just leave that off because this card is plenty cute without any words, and then you could make it be whatever. You can turn it into a birthday card later or anything else. Okay, we are getting really close to the end. There's 3 cards left. This happy birthday card, I did not do any extra cutting on. It's gonna look like I did because it's got all these circle cutouts. But piece G is actually the first one you put down. It's the background piece. It has all these little spots, whoops, already cut out that your happy and birthday circles are gonna go on. And you could do this the other direction, like if you liked it landscape instead. This card could easily be rotated because all the pieces with the words are just circles. So if you tend to prefer cards in landscape orientation, where things would be going this way, there's no reason you couldn't put all of your words in that direction. I think I am gonna put all my circles on some foam squares, and you just kind of match up which circle goes with which spot. We will probably on this card see some of the white underneath when we put this on foam, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I'm going to attach this one with tape runner first, and then I'll put foam on all the circles. This is just a little cute border around this one to kind of bring out the birthday. All the other ones say happy, if you can see those or not. So it's like happy, 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 happy birthday. In a bunch of different sizes and colors. Looks like I'm getting close to the end of my foam tape over here. This roll has lasted me a good long time, so I'm pretty happy with it. I guess I haven't really compared like specifically how much I get out of this versus a package of foam squares, but I do really like the option of making it a bigger or smaller piece compared to the foam squares that are a set size. There are a few of these circles that are kind of similar in size, so it wouldn't matter so much where those ones go, but there are a few that really only fit in some certain spots. Like, I don't know, if it didn't bother you and you wanted to see more of the white through one of these happies, you could rearrange how those are like where those are sitting. But if you put the card together the way the instructions show, you don't really see any of that white background behind them. So if you were to look at the card sideways, you can kind of, if you're really looking, see the white under the foam. So if that's gonna bother you, I would not use foam on those pieces. I would attach everything straight down to the card. But I don't think that's gonna bother me. It's still very cute, even with a little bit of white if you're looking at it from the side. And when you're looking at it straight on, you can't really see that. This is my probably second favorite card from this set. I mentioned that ocean water one was probably my favorite. This is the other one I really, really like. I think these little Adirondack chairs are just so, so cute. They're little cutouts that are gonna go at the top, like on the top layer. They're kind of sitting on the grass. And then here's two pieces that I cut and gutted a little bit. So first of all, both of these pieces are going to be so layered on each other and then have this piece layered on top. So I knew right off the bat I could cut off a good amount from the bottom of both of those. So I did. And then on this piece, it's gonna have a word. I'm so lucky to have a friend like you. So cute with the two little chairs. And so I just cut a circle out from that spot. And then also from this bottom layer, basically everything of this leaf print was gonna cover that up. So I cut out some additional circles from that. And once we put it all together, you will never know that all that stuff got cut out. And now I've got some cute striped circles that I can put together with some of the other circles we cut out from other things earlier. Some cute little strip and circle from this leaf print. Put my word right over that. I guess I could have put that up on foam, but I have already done that, so I'm not going to. And my little straight green grassy piece at the bottom. With my two chairs sitting at the top. Or sitting at the bottom of the card, but it's the final layer. Trying to just rub off some of this from the edges so I don't have to rub off so much once they go on here. Yeah, I think these little chairs are so cute. Last year Creative Memories had a punch that was this shape, and I can't remember if I ever had one in my possession. Probably not. It was kind of a limited edition thing. They brought some of the limited edition stuff back briefly this year, but I did not get any of those. Oh, I put my one chair a little bit in too far to the center, so I'm going to scoot him out a little. And they don't need to overlap at all. Okay, so lucky to have a friend like you. Very cute, nice card, nice sentiment. If you didn't want to put those words on there, you definitely wouldn't have to. And if you were gonna leave that off, I wouldn't cut the circle behind that spot, but you could also put something else there instead. Another option, since this is part of a bigger collection, is the stickers and stuff from the Tropic Time collection. So if you're not feeling the words or some of the decorations for this kit, you could pull out your Tropic Time stickers and see if there's something you like there better. So our last card, this is another piece where I trimmed a little off the edges because it's just gonna show, it's kind of like that sunset gradient again. And this one's a happy birthday card, but this one also had something, some alternative saying in the bonus pieces if you didn't want this to be a birthday card, or you could just leave happy birthday off. No reason this card has to say anything. It's cute even without the words. Okay, I'm just attaching this over that gradient background. I want to make sure it's centered over the background so I don't have any white gaps showing through. Looks like I've got my piece up just a little tiny bit too high. It's actually hanging off the edge of the card. So let me adjust that. We'll get that straightened out. Yeah, that looks a little better. And now this is going to get a bunch of flowers attached. And a happy birthday word, and I think I'll do foam on all those pieces. Do some kind of smaller foam for these little flowers. And that's it for the card kit. So after this, we've finished all the cards from the kit. There are some bonus pieces, so I mentioned some ways you might use those. But I'm gonna actually come back with the bonus pieces and the little chopped out parts and put together another set of cards in another video. Haven't decided yet exactly what those are gonna look like. I just kind of started pulling all the pieces together as I was looking through the bonus cards and what could be kind of gutted and saved from these cards. So I'll have to do a little bit of designing. That process sometimes takes a little bit of time, just thinking about what goes together, what looks good together, and how I can maximize it, because I don't want to waste the pieces that I've just created or saved or pulled out of the kit. These flowers are a little hard to put the foam on because they're not extremely small themselves, but just the way they're shaped makes it a little more difficult to get these segments of foam on there without cutting them down really weird. And I maybe didn't get my pieces on here exactly the way the example had them, but I think they're okay. I think this is a cute card. And I'm happy to get lots of happy birthday cards out of a kit, because birthday cards are the things I send the most. Way more than everything else. Birthday cards, and then probably after that, thank you cards next. But I like to send birthday cards to everybody in my family and my husband's family, and with all the siblings and nieces and nephews and everybody, we're a pretty big crew all together. All right, so there's 12 cards with the Tropic Time kit, with a few modifications to just save some pieces, and I'd love to have you come back and watch me put together some bonus cards using some of those pieces we gutted some extras from, and the bonus pieces from the kit itself. See you soon.